So as I said, today is the Solemnity of All Saints. In Italian, it's known as Tutti Santi. Has a nice ring to it, kind of like tutti frutti, all the fruit. Well, this is all the saints, Tutti Santi. So the question is, what does it mean to be a saint? Right now, I'm actually teaching a seventh grade class for several weeks on the saints here at Christ the King School. And on the first day of class, a week or so ago, I asked that very same question: what does it mean to be a saint? And the responses of the seventh graders were pretty typical. Some of them named off, some well-known saints like Saint Joseph or Saint Therese or Saint Patrick or Saint Lucy. In essence, their description of a saint was someone akin to a spiritual superhero. Now, they weren't wrong, but there is so much more to being a saint than just miraculous and mighty deeds. To understand the word saint, we must, to understand what it means to be a saint, we first must understand the very word saint. What does that mean? Saint literally means holy or holy one. So saints are holy. But what does that mean? Unfortunately, too often we equate holiness with some kind of boring goody two-shoes. So if God is calling us to be holy, does that mean that we're supposed to be like that? Some kind of boring goody two-shoes? In the Bible, the word holy literally means, it means to be different, to be different. So when the Lord calls us to be holy, He's asking us to be different from those around us, to be not just like everyone else. So instead of being worldly, to be otherworldly. This is exactly why the gospel this evening is the Beatitudes. You could not find a more different way from the world than those articulated by Jesus in the Beatitudes. Our world and our society lauds those who are rich and powerful and with lots of stuff. Jesus proclaims as blessed rather those who are poor in spirit, those who mourn, the meek, the hungry, the thirsty, the merciful, and the persecuted. This and this dichotomy between those two things is found not just in the Gospels and in the world, but I think it's found within each and every one of us. I think our bodies long for comfort, for rest, for food and drink, for power and influence and safety. Yet our souls long for something of even greater value, something that will not expire or run out, that which will last forever. Yes, to be holy is to be different from the world, to be different from the non-believers, to be willing to stand apart, to be willing even to sacrifice. When we look at the lives of those whom the church honors as saints, they are indeed different. But one thing they're not boring. Think for a moment of some of the saints depicted here in our parish church. A nun who worked among the poorest of the poor, the outcasts, the forgotten in India, and then spread to the world, even garnering her the Nobel Peace Prize. And Mother Teresa, St. Teresa of Calcutta, a man born into great difficulty and hardship, who ultimately would help bring down European communism, and St. John Paul II, a teenage girl who was called to lead the very armies of France, and St. Joan of Arc, a self-centered soldier turned mystic and religious founder, and St. Ignatius of Loyola, a courageous missionary who helped convert an entire people. St. Patrick, a young woman with a sharp mind who converted many in her defense of the faith, yet suffered a horrible death in St. Catherine of Alexandria. A man of amazing intellect who, after a rough start, turned his focus to God and served as a bishop and a theologian and writer, and St. Augustine. A queen who did not seek comfort, but rather used her position to help those who are in need, and her influence to help those who are without, in St. Elizabeth of Hungary. These are but a few of the examples portrayed in our church, and obviously there are more in our parish church and our grounds, and even more that the church celebrates. No, but what these saints have in common, because obviously they lived in different times, in different circumstances, in different situations, is that none of them were willing to accept the status quo. They were different. And we too are called to be saints. We too are called to be different. We shouldn't just accept things the way they are and say, well, I guess we're stuck with it. We are called not only to be different, but to make a difference. Yes, the saints knew that this world would not last. And one day they would have to stand before God and give an accounting of their lives. Now, it doesn't mean that the saints were perfect. Some had some very rough starts, and others big setbacks. This should give us hope, for none of us are saints at the moment. Hopefully, we're in the process of becoming saints. But all of us here tonight are called to be saints. All of us, without exception. Because if you don't want to be a saint, that means that you don't want to go to heaven. How foolish is that? But think about this. There's no shortages of paths to hell. But those who are with God are saints. Not just the ones that we recognize with feast days and so forth, but all those who are with God are saints. And if we want to go to heaven, then that means that we should want to be a saint. It's true that only a small number of those who are in heaven are formally recognized as saints in the canonization process. But being canonized shouldn't be our goal. Our goal is to be with God in heaven forever. So the question comes back again, do you want to be a saint? If yes, then start living that out today. Walk the path of holiness instead of taking the road to destruction. Seek virtue in your life instead of chasing vice. Make time for God instead of making room for trouble. Do good to those around you instead of just expecting good things for yourself. See, the example of the saints can be a powerful tool for these great models who are already with God in heaven. And by becoming more familiar with the saints, they can inspire us to be more and to do more. I would encourage you to read the life of a saint or watch a video on a saint's life. Maybe someone or someone's that you have a special connection with or you feel drawn to. You know, I have my own set of favorite saints, and I strive to be like them. And when I'm not, I go to confession. But it's not just their great example we have, it's also their intercession. Well, we do not pray to the saints. What we're really doing is asking for their prayers. This is something that confuses a great many non-Catholics. In fact, there was a young man yesterday on the basketball court and started asking me, and he just couldn't understand, and I did my best to explain to him. I said to him, people, because he says, why can't people just pray to God? I said, of course they can. So, I've been a priest for many years, and people ask me all the time if I could pray for them or pray for someone in their family or friends that need prayers. I've never once said to someone, what, you can't pray to God yourself? But of course, someone asks me to pray for them or someone that is close to them, I do my best to remember, but sometimes I forget. And even if I don't forget, I have other things to do. I have to eat and sleep and take care of other things. But we know that those who are with God in heaven do not forget. They're not going to get distracted by something else. We know that they will continue to pray for us or whoever we ask for as long as we want. The truth is indeed that saints are indeed part of that great cloud of witnesses that we heard about in the first reading from the book of Revelation. And we too are called to be part of that cloud of witnesses, to be part of the numbered among the children of God, to be faithful to God in this life, and to share complete joy and fulfillment with God in the next. Oh, yes, Lord, as that very familiar song goes, how I want to be in that number when the saints come marching in.